back to Ascension TV Online. I'm Caroline Mary and I am your host. And right now I'm celebrating my latest book launch, Who Called You Crazy? You're Having a Spiritual Awakening. So that came out on Tuesday and my beautiful friends and supporters made it a bestseller. So that is really lovely. And now it's time to move on. Everything I do is guided, and this series is no different. So this morning when I was tuning in and asking Spirit what would they like me to share on this show today, I've got a backlog of subjects I'm really looking forward to talking about, but this morning it was just continuing this theme of the awakening, the spiritual awakening, and a kundalini awakening. And this connects to the book because in the first chapter, if you've listened to some of the other videos, you might already pick that up. In the first chapter, I talk about the different ways we can describe what happens to us when we start awakening and the energies that are shifting and all of this. And so I'm just going to talk very briefly today about why we might call a spiritual awakening a kundalini awakening, and what other terms we might call it, as I highlighted in the book, and then move on to actually what might happen. So I'm going to try and keep it a bit shorter today. My videos tend to be getting longer and longer. So bear with me and we'll move through and see if something comes to light that's useful for you and your journey. So first of all, what does awakening mean? What do we mean by that? And for me, what I mean by that is we are moving into a place when we're in alignment with our heart and soul, and we're letting go of fears. So we're opening up, which is why my business is called Open Lotus Living, which was a name that I was given. Like a lot of the things that I do, I just receive the name, and that's what I go with. And if you think of a lotus or any flower, in fact, of course, we have petals and they're opening and opening and opening. And in the book, actually, I refer to us as having, infinite lotus petals, and every moment, every breath is a petal that's opening. And what happens is when we've had a trauma or anything, a significant emotional event in our life, often we can contract a little bit, and we're like a flower that has shut down and it doesn't want to open, and it takes a lot then of love, water, sunshine, all the good stuff to start opening again. So when I had my major awakenings, certainly as an adult, the childhood vision was less an awakening, more you could say an encouragement really, and a vision. Yeah, it was a vision. It didn't have so much energy connected, but certainly when I was in university and later in my 20s, when I had really prolonged activations and energy shifts, it was really energetic. I was feeling more alive, awake, I had more energy, I was really inspired, I wanted to do a lot of stuff. And to me, how I see that is our chakras suddenly are opening, and it can feel so different from what we know ourselves to be and for other people. Because if you think, let me use the analogy, if you say you're thinking of a flower, and the flower is, everyone's like, oh, that's cute, that's nice, little bird, oh, that's pretty, and then suddenly it's like boom, full flower. It's like, whoa, hello, what's going on there? And if you think of that happening in every area of your life, okay, if you have been on my website, you can go to the Ascension alignment exploration, and it talks about all the different areas in our life that we might be working on at any one time, or not, let me say not working on, but fulfilling, awakening, activating, becoming more in tune with what we really want. So say it's friendships, and when you were in this clenched flower, and then suddenly you start awakening, your energy body is awakening, your chakras are opening, and suddenly you're like, oh my God, I'm going to have new friends. And you go around talking to people, and people are like, well, what is happening with this person? Why are they being so friendly? But it's because you're getting more energy, and when we have more energy, we're more inspired, we're more open-hearted, we're happy, we're loving, we want to connect, because when we connect, we're sharing that energy and that love. So again, if you think of a before and after, it's really different, and that happens in every area of our life. And my understanding is, and I'll talk a bit more about this later, is that every time we shift in any way, energy, and anytime there's an energy, if we have Reiki or if there's a solar storm or we make love, we're having more and more energy fill in our system, and you're going to be picking up anything in the subconscious, and it's going to move through and it's going to come out in the conscious. And that's why oftentimes when people are undergoing these kundalini awakenings or awakenings, it can be really profound, and it can really like worry people, because there's all this stuff coming out, and it's basically like the subconscious is like yeah, so you're doing everything you always wanted to do. You're saying things that you always wanted to say and you were too scared to say. And it's really profound. It's really different. And it can lead, obviously, people to be like so worried about their person that they get them locked up, because they're just like, we need to just stop this. And my wish, and that's exactly what I'm wishing through the book, is to encourage people not to stop it. Obviously, if you're having that, the discernment, to me, discernment is the big key for integration, because you, even though you're sensing things that are coming through and you're realizing people, it's not going to land that well. If you just go to somebody that's upset you years ago and you're realizing, oh my God, this thing, most people aren't going to be able to take that very well if it feels like an attack, because we have a sensitive energy system. We have a fight and flight response. If somebody looks like and feels like they're attacking you, we're going to go into our fight and flight, and that's when you're going to hit up against something. So just coming back to the kundalini and awakening, I think you get an overview there about the awakening and why things can be so profoundly different when we're undergoing that and our life afterwards. But in terms of the phrases we use, so when I had my awakenings, I knew it felt good. I knew it felt like, oh, thank God, I'm coming into myself rather than this like contracted version of myself. Breaking out, letting go of those skins, if you think of the snake analogy. But I had no language whatsoever to use. I had nothing. The only thing I had as a point of reference is I'd read the Bhagavad Gita. Obviously, I knew about the Bible and Jesus, and I knew about Muhammad and Buddha. And so you start having that, and you're like, well, I don't see anybody else feeling and acting like this. Suddenly, you really do think you're a bit of a messiah. Okay, so some people might put if you think of, there's a theme, right, and we were doing a spider chart or a brainstorm around these labels, you might say, yeah, Messiah complex, because the feeling is so profoundly good, amazing, different, elated, blissful, profound, inspirational, motivational, that you're just feeling like you feel ascended. And the mistake that I made is I literally was like, well, that's it, I'm sorted. And of course, in the last video I talked about the spiritual honeymoon, the transfiguration, spiritual honeymoon, and then the dark night of the soul, because the feeling is great, but the come down and the integration and the fallout can be really challenging. Okay, and that's when you really brought back down to earth, because you're integrating the energies. That profoundly intense energy is starting to fade away, and then you're left with who you were before, who you are, what's going on in your life, and that's where the integration comes. Okay, and I'll be talking about this. I'm guessing there'll be another video on the integration. Today I'm just going to call back to the phrases. So think of this brainstorm. In my first chapter, I talk about coming home to your Christ self. So it is widely believed or known that we all have this pure being inside us, the Christ self or the Buddhic self, the Bodhisattva, you might even say, or the Oversoul, which is the purest divine essence, your pure divine essence. And that one is infinite. I want to say it's always changing, but ironically it's always there as well. And one year when I'd shaved my head and got rid of pretty much all my belongings, I was like in this really strange place, and I was saying to Spirit, I've got nothing. I'm in a new town, new job, new everything. It was just so overwhelmingly like different. And they said, remember your essence. And when I fell into that, I remembered myself, because this is not the true self. And I always knew that as a kid when I was thinking, I had this male female energies going on. So our true essence, we're coming back to it. So that's one way of describing it, yeah, coming into the Christ self, which is again why a lot of people have that awakening, and they literally start thinking they're Jesus or Mary or Cleopatra or somebody. And just a side note on this, I'm not sure if I've discussed this before, but it feels relevant here. There's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of spiritual judgment going on these days. Oh, have you got a spiritual ego? No. Everyone loves to judge someone else instead of going, actually, what's happening underneath. Now, I had an experience of believing I was a certain person from actually a century and a half ago, Madame Blavatsky, because I kept having visions of her guides, and I don't know, whatever it is, I won't bore you with the details. And rather than taking it and running with it, because, you know, we can all make mistakes, right? We need to check in with these things. I asked my mentor, Angela, can you check in? Because it's possible. There's no reason why not. Like, you could be anybody as well. It's not that I think I'm better than anyone, but it felt like very aligned. And when she tuned into me, the answer she got is I had done a pre-life journeying into that person's life. So what if you think you go into a simulator and you can have a flight simulation for 10 minutes, right? Pre-life, in between lives, in the other realms, we have just so many trainings that we couldn't even contemplate it with our human mind right now. But if you think of, you know, life as a university, and we're taking all these classes, and every life, that's why everyone looks different, and our individual curriculum is completely different and unique. So what had happened is I had a soul simulation of Madame Blavatsky, so that I remembered and felt like and knew things that she had done. Now, she's a writer, prolific writer. I haven't got any of her books, but I've looked and researched, but I realised that I didn't feel it was right at that time for me to take them, but I probably will at some point. But the point is, when you do that, you're going to have had that lived experience, and you're going to take away the wisdom. And my sense is that a lot of people will do that to Jesus, Mary, to other saints, because if you do walk in those shoes, you really understand it, and you are going to be really activating your own Christ self to be in service for whatever it is that you're here to do on earth right now. And obviously, well, let's face it, we're in a shared reality. Yes, we create our own reality within that, but we are in a shared reality, and we're co-creating together, and it's a bit of a shit show right now. So a lot of us are coming to do some really good work. So having those pre-life simulations is really helpful. But when you're awakening, what can happen is you're not going to realise that if prior to that you're not aware of soul simulation and all of that stuff, and you're going to actually just think you are that person. So the Messiah complex and awakening to the Christ self can be very blurred. Okay, and this is again why just judging it doesn't help. Who wins then, right? Somebody thinks they're better than the other, who's going through this ridiculous thing. Better to understand, isn't it? Yeah. So this is why I'm doing these videos, because you might just take one thing away and you're going to feel a lot better about your journey. All right. So coming back to the labels and the narratives, it's the narratives that for me, because I was slapped with a label of bipolar, and I was like, you can go fuck off. I'm sorry if you're not keen on the F's and blinds, but to be honest, I still have some amount of feelings around that, because it was so limiting. Because for them, that was it. I was a write-off. I had to take lithium, and that was it. It was like there was no context, there was no perspective. It was like, you don't even know me, how dare you write me off like that? You just have no idea what's going on in my own way. Didn't want to know, so I just was like, I'm sorry, I'm not taking that label. But I just, even talking about it makes my throat like this. It's just like, it just makes me feel disgusting. It's like having a mental straitjacket on because of the connotations of that. So that's why the chapter in the book, and this is why I'm discussing it now, is saying what is the narrative that actually fits for you. So also in that first chapter, I talk about the sacred wound, and a lot of people who are healers have a very profound early wound. So it might be child abuse, it might be I want to say kidnapping, they're really tragic, full-on, very strong traumatic event. And when you go through that, you might be doing some karma. Okay, so you might have been a perpetrator in another life, and in this life you might have said, you know what, I'm going to be a victim so that somebody else can, if they need to see what it's like to be a perpetrator, to then come back and go, oh, actually that's horrible. You might say, yeah, I'll take that on. I'll be that role. Think of life as a role play. Everyone who experiences those strongly charged experiences with us is part of that play, and we have many of those, and much of it is preordained. It's pre-life choices so that we can learn and grow. So if you're having a profound awakening, even being sectioned can be part of your wound. And I knew on the second time that I went into the hospital, I was like, yeah, this is absolutely something I needed to do. So I could go in, look what's happening, come out and go, oi. You know, I could live to tell the tale and do the work that I'm doing now, okay? So I knew that, but I also had something quite traumatic when it happened at age at 4, and I had no idea until a few years ago when a beautiful guy, Gregory Rees-Smith, who I lived with in Portugal for a while, as I had a relationship with his son, and I was being part of his Rainbow Centre over there, and he said something happened when you were 4, and you know it really affected you, and I had no idea. And once I started realizing that, it just made sense of my whole life. And so sometimes when you're awakening, you're going to be healing that sacred wound, and then you're going to be moving into the work that you're here to do. And that's different for everybody, it really is. I'm just going to move my screen a bit. So another way of describing this, what's happening to us, is just literally integrating the soul, waking up to the soul and integrating the ego. And rather than seeing the ego as something we just need to whip aside and hate and dismiss and beat ourselves up for, which I've done a lot of people have said to me, God, you're so hard on yourself. Yes, I was always good at seeing my shit stuff, and I wasn't so good at integrating that part and having that compassion. So a lot of the work I've been doing the last few years is like, oh God, right, okay, yes, I did do that thing, and even if everyone hates me that I ever met about this, you know, mistake that I made, I can love myself, I can receive that wisdom of compassion and give myself that grace. So that is why sometimes when we've had our awakening, it can feel like this honeymoon, like this, oh, I've got this amazing grace, this feeling finally, because I maybe have been really hard on myself. And the integration can be quite hard because you're going to have to keep looking at all that stuff. So you're integrating like the higher self, the light part, or you could do it that way. You know, some people like to say the light and the dark, we're equal. I don't take that we're equal parts. I just think that's, I would say we're equal parts male, female. But for me, the light and the dark, it's like having a room with no light and turn the light on and you've got light. You haven't got half light and half dark. It's not, to me, it's more, I would use something that I get a lot with clients. I would use a volume switch, and the more we tune into God, light source, creator energies, we're going to be filling up our own energy. And yeah, sure, we're going to have bits that were in the dark, because to me, they're soul parts that didn't know themselves, forgot their true self, believed they weren't worthy of God's love and all of this. So anybody acting from, or beings that are acting from the dark, is a lack of light, not just because they are dark. To me, there is no inherent darkness or inherent evil or bad. But anyway, so that's another script for another thing. But you see where I'm going with this narrative. If you explore the narrative, what's actually happening, rather than seeing it as like a fuck up and an illness and something to just suddenly sort out, which is, you know, to me, the mindset of, oh, you've got an illness, we better sort it out. They don't even know what it is anyway, and they don't even know how to sort it out. So it's just it's just a moot point, and as far as I'm concerned, which is why I didn't take it on, and I just took the understanding and journeyed within and asked the questions to spirit. Sorry, I'm getting really itchy nose. I don't know what that's about. Something's clearing from my system, I'm guessing. And actually, on a bit of a side here, I'm always interested in where in the body we hold energy. Okay, we hold emotions, and as far as I'm aware, the nose is somewhere we hold emotions. I believe that the face, like the foot, is kind of, you could symbolize the whole body. So you could say that this is the head and this is the foot. Somebody who's holistic, please do correct me and put some comments if you like. But I've often had quite a red nose, and my belief was always, this is me holding a lot of emotions, okay, and blocked sinuses. Actually, I'm quite lactose intolerant, which is okay, because I do believe that we shouldn't be stealing baby cow's milk, but I do have dairy on occasion, so something's clearing through my system. But anyway, so this is another part of awakening, okay, things, this we get into alignment with purifying our body. Okay, so let me just think if there are any other I'll meet in growth edge and expansion cycle. So I'll talk about that because I'm a trained coach, and in coaching terminology, we talk about growth edges. So say with the book, right? I knew I had this download, I'm going to write this book. I wrote it very quickly in about a month or two in Portugal at Gregory's house. Quinta de Luz, it's a beautiful place, go look him up. And you can go there for retreats and do helpexing. It's very, very high energy. It's absolutely beautiful by the Serra da Estrela in Portugal. So I wrote this book, but then the growth edges started kicking in. I was terrified. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know how that would work. It felt like it was way beyond my capacity financially. I was terrified of the world, really angry still. And I just, over the last 8 years, so I wrote it in 2017, I think I've worked out, and I've just carried it around and reiterated it and everything like this, and updated it as I went. And I've just hit growth edge. So what can happen is if you say you have some inspiration, and actually this I'm bringing it's coming to mind, something I was writing about yesterday for the blog, for my blog. And when I started to study massage when I was 24, I was 24, 25, around that time anyway, it really created this massive awakening for me and an inspiration of realising I want to do more with my life, and that I had the idea of doing the massage, and then all my fears kicked in because one, I'd never chosen something just exactly for me that I was like, this is what I'm doing. It felt so challenging because if you think of childhood, we're told by our parents what to do all the time. There are really strong boundaries for most people with their parents because obviously their parents are protecting them. So there's this really strong, boundary around us of can do this, can't, and then you've got school, can't, starting to really crush us into who we're meant to be from society, family, cultural expectations. And then you say, I want to do this, and you've got to just let that go. And it was absolutely so profoundly expansive for me to say that's what I'm going to do. It just was like, oh yes, finally. It was so strongly part of my soul, but all my shit kicked in. Yeah, so that's why I talk about in the book, we're having cycles of expansion. And for anybody who's building a business, for example, like no one in my family's run a business successfully for a long time. My dad ran a business in London, and then he just gave it up when we came to Wales. He didn't carry on, and he didn't make money out of it in a sense of, you selling shares, making it bigger. It just wasn't like that. He just did it, and he didn't, and that was it. So in my family, I'm one of the first people that are really pushing boundaries. Okay, my mum's family are farmers, but in this particular way of being out in the world and being on camera and all of this stuff, it's new. It's really new for anybody in my family. So my genes don't know what to do with it. So our nervous system has to align to everything of those new steps. And this is why, as a coach, I'm so happy that I trained as a coach as well as doing the healing, because it gave me the language to understand the real building blocks of what happens when we change, because we have to allow our neural pathways to catch up, which then filters into everything feeling safe and normal. So because I'm already a published author with books like The Magdalene Oracle, I've got a chapter in this book. It doesn't feel so much of a stretch for me now to be a best-selling author in my own right with Who Called You Crazy. But you have to do it by gradations. But so if we have a download and we think, I'm going to do this, we try and do it, we're going to be really hitting against edges, and that's when the turmoil and the energy shifts. So I'm just going to talk for a moment about the Kundalini Awakening and why that is connected to, and I've obviously named this episode, Kundalini and Spiritual Awakening, because to me, it actually, if you just look on an energy term, it's the most accurate description of what happens. Okay, so for many yogis or yogic teachers would believe and say that we have an energy that is dormant in the base of our spine, at the bottom of the sushumna. So if you think all of the chakras, we've got chakra, chakras, lots of chakras and lots of smaller chakras or nadis, points of light on the body, and the meridian system. We've got the 7 main ones, and at the bottom is the root chakra, and somewhere there, I'm not an expert at this, so you go and look it up for yourself. I just know the feeling. When you're activated, that energy wakes up and it travels up your I can't think which one it is, so Pingala and basically we have a straight line like this, and then you might have seen it, we have two spirals there. So one is an energy going up and one is an energy going down, and people would say one is the male, one is the female, and those energies move meridians move energy up and down our energy system. And it's why I'm just seeing that when we have a trauma, so if you have a heartbreak, you're going to have a block here, and other chakras then have to compensate. It's a little bit like a dam forming in a river, and there's a block, and then you'll see like water will have to go around it, or it will just bulge up and then it will burst through. And it's the same with that energy system. And it's why meditation, especially something like Vipassana, and that's not just breathing but literally having your presence within your body, means that you are dissolving those energy blocks, because your presence is self-aligning and self-healing. So it will, if you've got a stagnation and you put your energy and your focus and your hand, because that helps there, you will just literally be starting to like rub it out basically with your consciousness. So when we have our awakening, what is in my understanding, what is happening, a lot of, I want to say cosmic energy or source energy, chi prana, is coming down into our crown chakra and down, and it's going to be activating loads of different energies, and then it's going to get to the bottom. And then at the bottom of that system, if that energy center hasn't opened, it's going to fill that kundalini up, and it's going to start moving through the rest of your system. So rather than the energies going down and grounding, it may ground, but it can have another effect where the energies are starting to come up. As I said, this is not my area of expertise in terms of exact energies, so please do go and look this up. Don't take my word for it, but I know the energy of it because I have experienced it so many times. And when I look back over my life, when I started connecting to spiritual and awakened, energetically interesting people on Facebook and social media and online, there was a lot of people talking about solar storms, which is why in the second book chapter I'm talking about what can affect us having a spiritual awakening. And there are so many different factors like breathing, breath work, sex, yoga, not sleeping, too much sleep, having the solar storm, solar flares can really be an activating factor for us, because we're getting more energy in our system than we may, one, consciously choose, but two, or have had before. And so it's like a plant being placed into like ultra UV lights or whatever frequency they need, with a shitload of water and a shitload of nutrients, and suddenly it's growing a lot, and that's what's happens to us. So that Kundalini awakening, some of the things, so I'm going to move on now actually to some of the things that can be happening to us on a physical level. People can shake. I've heard people say they literally levitated and then came back down. They want to move. So a lot of times when I used to smoke I smoked a lot of marijuana in my 20s, and I really do believe it helped my nervous system a lot. Very sensitive, and as we know, like people use CBD oil as as a really profoundly healing plant medicine. And but I used to want to stretch all the time. So whenever I was at a party, I would dance a lot, and then I'd have smoke, and I'd just be like, oh, and people are like, what are you doing? I'm like, I've got to stretch, and I do yoga. I've been doing yoga for a long time. That's why my body is fairly, in fairly good shape all the time. Very, very, very flexible compared to a lot of people. Double jointed elbows and all the stuff. I was always flexible. And because that energy is building up, it's moving through your system. It's like you've stoked a furnace and it's got to move. If you don't move, it's like shaking to get out. And my belief is that when it's like when we have a trauma as well, we need to shake to let the energy go. Something's shifted and we need to just move, and we're realigning our energies. And if you're watching, try it, just move, let yourself move, because a lot of life, if you think about it, sit still, sit there, be quiet, sit there, you have to sit in school, blah blah blah. We're not taught to move. And you think of indigenous cultures, ancient older cultures, people outside, they're moving all the time, they're hunting or they're farming or they're doing whatever they're doing. They're not sat sedentary on a blooming seat. It's not how we're meant to live at all, unless you're a tree, right? But then you're a tree, you're not a human. Different bodies, different now I'm moving, see, it feels really good. And if you don't move, you stagnate, and then when that energy comes through your system, it's like, and you think of a building, big buildings have lightning conductors because they need a way to ground it, because the building itself is too dense. And a lot of times we have become too dense in terms of slow stagnating. So think of gas, water, ice. All energy can be seen in those three states. Simplistic, I know, but if you think of putting a lot of energy at an ice cube, it's going to start melting, and then it wants to move, okay? And that's the same for us. So when we have an awakening on a physical level, we can really be feeling buzzing, we can feel tired and wired, we can feel like we need to move our legs, everything. And the most profound thing and easy thing we can do is just simply be the lightning conductor, see the energy moving out of our system, down through our feet, knees, hips, knees and feet, out of our perineum, out of our root chakra. See yourself. You can literally see yourself doing it, and it will literally ground you down. So people used to say to me, God, you're so high, or you need to ground. No one told me what it meant. I mean, you can guess, right? You can put your feet on the bare earth. I'm not that keen on, I'm very sensory. I don't like yuckiness on my skin anywhere. But I like barefoot. I've got my bare feet here, and but energetically you can do it with your intention. You don't actually have to be out in the field and putting your feet on the earth. You literally can see yourself seeing streams of energy just moving out. But of course, if you're ever clenched, that feeling. If you're in a tense situation, your body stiffens. You're on your heckles, you're watching, that's the freeze response. That energy can't move. You've turned into ice. So then you have to soften, which is why if any of this is resonating with you and you're thinking, well, what do I do about it? Look into Vipassana, body scanning, yoga nidra. They are all really similar, okay? And that is just noticing what's happening in your body, bringing your awareness back in your body, and it will just naturally soften back out, okay? It's not something you can force. It's something that's very gentle. It's a process, and then suddenly you're relaxed again. And then that energy starts flowing. But for a lot of people, if you're not aware that you've had trauma, you're not aware of your energy systems and the body systems and how it all interlinks, it's very challenging when you have that awakening, which is why again and again and again I see so many people, when there is a solar flare, people go, oh my God, how are you feeling? How did you sleep? Because they're having all this energy and it's got to filter out of their system somehow. Think of think of a bag and you're filling it up with water. If it hasn't got holes in the appropriate places, it's going to fill up and burst. It's or a kink in a hose pipe. Actually, it's a good analogy. I have that a lot when I'm in sessions with people. If you've got a few kinks in your hose pipe and you turn the pressure up of the water, i.e. the energy, it's going to go until it's straight. So that movement is actually helping you. But of course, from the outside world, you can look crazy, which is why my book is Who Called You Crazy? Having a Spiritual Awakening. Could also be called Don't Call You Crazy or Don't Call Me Crazy. I'm having a spiritual awakening, right? Okay, so on a physical level, I'm going to work through chakras now and just move through this because I want to make sure you have a little bit of an overview. Again, this is in the book. I think it's chapter 4 or 5, which is like, what can you expect from your spiritual awakening? So in terms of your root chakra, that's the physical, right? It's how you are in the world, it's how the world is, how safe you feel. So you may feel more safe than you ever feel, right, if you have that. or you might suddenly not feel safe as fears are coming to the surface out of your subconscious. You might need to move, you might feel like you want to move house. You might feel frustrated with your home. You might want to clean your home. You might end up doing loads of decorating projects because you're like, oh my God, I'm going to change, right? So the principle is, before, stagnation, slow, ice, kind of, making do, tolerating everything, any area of your life. Having an influx, a deluge of energy, having a kundalini awakening, having a spiritual awakening, okay, and it affects every part of your life, or it may do, depending on how aligned you are to your soul already, okay, which is why the coaching I do is essentially alignment coaching, because it's getting us in alignment with our soul, and that's when you're not going to be wobbling so much, you're not being influenced by other people, you're just listening to your own soul truth, okay. So in root chakra, you might spend loads of money because you were too scared to spend money. You might have loads of ideas to make money because they were there but you couldn't hear them, and suddenly you're like, oh my God, I've got all these ideas, right? So that energy is activating all your energy centers, and so there's lots of different things happening, okay. You might suddenly feel energized, you don't feel like you need to eat, okay, because actually what is food? It's energy, and if you're receiving a lot of energy, why would you take it in a physical form when you're coming into your energy body? Doesn't make sense, right? You wouldn't feed an angel an apple. So if your energy is rising so much, your whole body system is coming online, you're activating, you're raising the vibration. A lot of people talking about this these days. You just need less energy. You need less food because you're receiving it in its purest substance, manna from heaven, okay. You might sleep less because, again, you're not needing to integrate, you're just literally inspired and you want to keep doing what you're doing. And I had my one of the waves, it was one of the times I was in hospital, I was sat there and I was still getting all these downloads, and there people are talking to me and I'm just kind of ignoring them and just listening to what's happening, and it's just really interesting. It's like spiritual radio 101, and the spirit was saying, we don't actually need to sleep, we don't actually need to eat. It doesn't mean that we can all just flip a switch and get to that point, but that there may come a time on earth where we are so in alignment with our energy selves again, as it was, I believe, in Lemuria and the early days of Atlantis, that we just don't need so much, because we are literally embodying that highest version of self, a bit like when Jesus came back in his ascended self after he died. He came back in his light body, so he came back with the body disappeared, but it was so activated, it was how to say it, it's another discussion, so I'm not going to go into it, but essentially he was in a higher vibrational energy aspect of himself, okay. So and again, that is the type of thing that really worries people. Oh my God, this needs to eat. Oh, I need to ground her. And it is true, we need to integrate this stuff, which is why chapter 7 is all about integration. But when you're in the middle of it and you're in the deluge, it's like when you're receiving Reiki or something like this, you're in that heightened state. So you're going to be experiencing what it feels like to be in that heightened state. In a sense, what I'm just getting then is, it's almost like you are literally experiencing what it's like to be in the spirit form, okay, and then you come back into the physical, and for a lot of us, we will be moving up and down the vibrations depending on what we're doing. So there might be now phases in your life when you have times when you don't feel like you need to eat so much, but times when you're like, okay, I'm grounding again, now back more into the physical, and you're going to eat a lot. And I've experienced that a lot in my life, and that is normal. That is normal for us, because we need to be able to work on different frequencies. It's like having a radio. You don't just stick a radio on one thing, or some people do, I suppose. But, if you're having a variety of experiences in your life, you're going to be switching radio stations depending on what you want to experience and why you're tuning into those different aspects. And that is okay. But when we first have the major awakening, it can be like absolute chaos. So of course, from the outside world, it looks worrying, it looks weird, it looks, all the stuff, right? So that's the physical. Okay, and to integrate it, of course, you need to get used to those fluctuations, the new iterations. You might need to move. Like, I never would have thought I'd live in this iteration of a home, okay, but actually it's quite aligned to what I like. I just didn't know I could ever have that, or I thought it was, I don't know, I'm a hippie, I can't live like that, whatever. Yeah, I thought I need to live like this or this. Shit just clears away. All the old iterations, the layers and layers and layers, and the shoulding and the shouldn'ts start dissolving. But there's a bit of chaos in the middle, okay? And that's why you might start loads of projects. You might want to change your wardrobe. You might change this, because it's like, oh, fuck, there's all these ideas. Oh, my God. And I haven't been living in alignment. Now I need to this is my soul talking to me. So it can be very frenetic, because the reason why it's frenetic is because you're having all these inspirations and the energy is not always grounded, okay? When you start grounding it, you just take the next action, and you don't need to ask anyone's opinion. You don't have to ask your mate, you just get on and do it. And again, it might ruffle some feathers because you're getting on and they're not, and I've seen this, I've had people, when I started giving up drinking drugs, oh, you would say that, and it's like, because I'm getting clean, because I never wanted to take shit in the first place. It wasn't really my thing, but peer pressure, wanting to join in, wanting to have a tribe, you copy, you do what everyone else is doing, until you go, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to go over there and actually get on with my life and have a meaningful life, So that's root chakra come up, and this leads into, okay, the sacral chakra, connection, intimacy. You might decide to be celibate. Conversely, you might decide, oh my God, and have like a sexual evolution where you're really liberated. And a lot of people now are doing polyamory. I'm not into it myself. I think it's very trauma related myself, and wanting to get a lot of energy, and I don't think you need to do that sexually, but that's fine. There's not a judgment in there. I just am thinking through, if I was, because I've had moments when that's could have been a way, and actually it's like, I just don't need it. I have had a lot of intimacy, but it wasn't overlayered, if that makes sense. When I'm with somebody, it's like a marriage, it's a very deep connection, and when I'm single and I've played, and now it's just not something that it's not a priority, let's just say that. I've got a lot of other things I want to do in my life. So, but what I'm saying is, when you come into activating your sacral chakra, there can be a lot of shifts around intimacy. You might start telling people what you actually think of them. You might have different boundaries. You might just leave people, and I have done that. I haven't handled situations very well, I'll say. I've had a lot of triggers with different people, and I've just withdrawn because something just didn't match, and it was like, I can't even say, and if I had to try and explain something to somebody, it'd feel like I'd have to write an essay, and most people just don't want to know, to be honest. And in my experience, if people actually want to be around you, they'll come and find you, and if they really don't, well, you have to let them go. We're if you see us as millions of grains of sand on the beach, they're not clinging together. That makes a rock. They're free flowing with the water, and it's not that they're being selfish, they're just being in themselves, and they're therefore moving. The same with atoms in the air or water molecules in a river. They're connected, but they're all, there's a flow, and it never stops, but there has to be a loosening, if you like. And I have found that very challenging in my life, because a part of my traumatized child energy self wants to be with the people I need to be with, and then to realize that actually you just need to shake it off a little bit, not them off, but like the really close relationships, so that you can do what you need to do. It's felt challenging, but it may well happen, because you can't hold on to everyone. You have to let people go, so they've got room, you've got room, and then you can live, you can be yourself. So that sacral energy, it can also bring into into focus your emotions as well. And for a long time, I was very in a very calm place, and they said, what's wrong with me? I played a lot of music, which essentially was like meditating. I did a lot of woodwind instrument playing, which again was using breath, so I was like meditating a lot. I was very calm. I did yoga. I just thought, I don't really have emotions. But then I stopped smoking marijuana, then I stopped smoking tobacco, then I really started getting my feels. And then when I looked into my astrology, I realised I'm Moon in Scorpio, and it's all about the subconscious. And yep, I have emotions, but I had not been given that emotional intelligence growing up. It was very much head, mind, performative or discipline, motivation, very masculine energy. And as the years have gone on, I've learned about emotions, and rather than fearing them, feeling them, naming them, able to let them move through. Okay, let them move through as textures in our life, like the clouds on the sky. So that can open up quite a lot for people if you've been locked down and you think you're fine, or you're coping and you're distracting yourself. Okay, moving up into the solar plexus, we have a sense of self, power, my will or thy will. So you might surrender to God's will, or you might start finding your own power. You might realize how other people have overpowered you and think, no, I'm not taking that anymore. So really shifting, like claiming back your space, claiming back your selfhood, not over other people, but as equal to other people. And there can be a lot of fluctuations around that. And your sense of self, your personality, how you show up in the world, how it feels to be in the world. And I have had many iterations of who I thought I was, and again get kind of almost like, well, hang on, I have this energy. Because actually, in my understanding, every soul aspect that gets a bit stuck is going to start developing its own kind of personality. And then when it pings back, it can be like, well, how is this cloud coming in that cloud and that cloud? But obviously the true self is, you could say, is at peace, but we have these wisps of other selves, the parts of our psyche, you might say, the small self, the ego selves, and they're going to show up differently. And when we are awakening, our job in the integration is not to change, but to allow and integrate, so they all come into coherence. And who you end up being in the world, and of course you could say the no self, yes, blah blah blah, but really for most of us to live as a being, I am a Caroline Mary, what is it like? And that can be a journey. It can be a journey of integrating those parts, or it can be a journey of going, stripping off the mask of who you're meant to be, and say, I don't need to be like that anymore. And I was sobbing last night in the arms of Rob, my beautiful partner, saying, he is very like me. He's very grounded and very sensible. We've got a lot of Virgo between us, and it's quite orderly. Could be seen as boring. And when I was a kid, I used to think, I'm so boring. God, nobody likes me. And I developed all these very gregarious, this Leo energy. My sun sign's Leo, and that's fun at times. But it didn't really feel like me. I'd come away and be like, I'm just back to me again, and I'm really depressed now. But I wasn't being myself, and as I'm talking about this, I can feel this in my solar plexus, right? Because it's me going, it's not boring. I'm just very straight up, and I'm really committed to being of service. I, had those visions as a kid, and was like, no, I want to make the most of my life. And in order to do that, I have to be really organised. And you could say that's boring. As a kid, you don't want to be the swot. You don't want to be seen as the clever one, the one that's always in the bands, It's like, oh yeah, I'm that one. Everyone loves to give you shit about it and laugh or whatever. But actually, as an adult, brilliant. Take them skills back, right? So I'm doing a lot of claiming of like those skills, because I want to make the best of my life and be the best version of myself I can be, not to be better than anyone, but to actually honour me, my life, the gifts I've got, to honour the world, to show up and do what I can do in the world, right? It's taken me a long time to unclench that and just stop being who I thought I meant to be, to get the love I wanted from the external world, and love myself for all those parts, okay? And love the funny one, the comedy Caroline, as I call her, and all the parts, yeah? So there's big shifts can happen in terms of our solar plexus. Moving up to the heart, of course, I feel like I'm doing a weather report, it's so funny. When we awaken, we might sense all love and love for all, and feel like we're being loved, and it is immense. It is really, really profound, okay? I'm just remembering back through my life when I've had that, and I have it time and time again on the dance floor. And this is why, to me, in terms of energy and awakening, it's not a one and done. It's a continue opening, as is it Rumi or Ram Dass says. You know, it's not searching for love. It's finding what is blocking the love, because the love is always there. We're in the mind of God. We're in God, in a play of God, right? The universe is an iteration of God. The love is always there, but because of our human life, our past lives, our karma, blah blah blah, we forget. We have this veiled forgetfulness, and then as we awaken, and open, we start feeling that, and that is why our inhibitions can just disappear, because you just suddenly go, of course, everyone's my brother and sister. Like, what the fuck am I worried about? I've had both extremes of this, and so if you watch my videos, you get to know the work I do. You'll see my symbol for coming to peace. It's the infinity sign in a circle, because every theme has like the good, the bad, and the ugly, and everything in between. You know, there's you could say that's the balance of light and dark. It's a different theme. It's a different way of understanding it. What I mean to say is, you can hate people, you can love people, you can push them away, you can you can crave them, or you can be in the middle where you're just sensing the love for all. And I've experienced a lot of those different iterations. Dancing always is the place that really gets me into that flow state, and that place where I'm like, oh my God, I just love everyone. I just want to send out love to all beings. You know, and I've been so lucky to have that sense a lot in my life, and I can feel tingles as I'm talking about it. So it can be the first time you've ever had that, when we have our first awakening, and that's why we can start acting in a very, very different way than prior to that, because suddenly we're like, hang on, I can just be kind to everyone, I can love everyone. I do remember I kind of felt, I have a male friend that I kind of have felt sorry for in a way, and I remember like basically coming onto him sexually, because I was just like, you just need love. Like, I just wanted to like shower him with love, and he was like, no, you're all right. And I was like, yeah, okay, sorry, fine. But you know, is that crazy, or is that just an offering of love? Yeah. And I'm a great believer that many of us women who have had multiple partners in this life have been temple maids. I don't like the word prostitute, I really, really don't, but temple, let's say, teachers of the loving arts. Okay, so you open that part of you, you're going to start loving on people, and that's okay. It's only not if you put it up in a Christian, secular, contorted, repressed society. If you put a different society over that feeling, it becomes normal. It's not wrong. It's the virgin. It's the archetype of the lover. It's expansive. So yeah, it's a lot of things can be happening in your heart. You might forgive people, but you might also start, again, this is where the dark night soul comes in. You might start kicking into all those parts that really have been really hurt. And that's why the integration, it's not a one and done. It's not like a weekend retreat, I'm fucking sorted. It's like it's an unfurling of many, many layers. And in this life, more than any others, we are healing so many versions and lifetimes, closing timelines, that it all moves through our system, and we're going to be feeling it. So again, it can feel tumultuous. I'm going to move up to the throat chakra now, because I'm aware of time. I wanted to do a half an hour one, but it's not going to happen, is it? Never mind. So moving up to the throat chakra, if you've never spoken your truth, you might start speaking your truth. And I have heard many, many stories, and I know my own stories, when you just go, you know what, fuck you, and people are like, what? Because as polite British people, especially if you're a little bit middle class, you don't see your shit, and you don't say your shit, and the elephant is sat in the room, and it's under the rug, and it's in the room, and it's under the rug. All right, so I've seen it so much in my families and other families. It's just like, jeepers, is this really true? When you start awakening, it's going to come out, and either you need to get it off your chest in a journal, or to a therapist, that's your best, or talk to God or a tree or the grass, let it out into a river, whatever it is, you need to get rid of it. It's part of your healing. Okay, in fact, in this book, I talk about coming to peace, and if you're interested in doing some self-processing, go into this little sticker, because I go to wellbeing fairs, I'm like, pick up the book and read it, have a flick through. Go onto my resources section, because there's a whole ream of coming to peace PDFs, coming to peace for your mother, your dad, yourself, body, sex, money, blah, blah, blah. Because oftentimes we weren't told we could have a voice. It was shut up, sit there, school. No. Okay. And then suddenly you wake up, you're like, oh my God, I've got so much to say. And doesn't it feel good to do that, right? It's why I make a lot of noise when I'm in a dancing situation. And I really encourage you to honour that part of you, but just be aware again that if you're having that, or you know, you might be listening to this on behalf of somebody you know, don't be surprised, because it's all going to come out. It's all going to let go. Somehow it's moving out. And if we're not in a place where we've got great discernment, it can become tumbling out to family members. And I remember screaming at my mum. I was mad at my mum. My mum was fucking horrible to me as a kid. She was really stressed. And I get it now. And I'm sure there was some horrible karma where I was a horrible mother to her. So fine. But I didn't know it. So when I was sat in the hospital, I just let it rip. And because I had no fear. I was just like, fuck you, lady. And it feels quite good, like, oi. And obviously a lot of what comes out of us is when we've been contracted and we're claiming back our space. Okay, it's why I've had a lot of anger about being sectioned, and it's taken me so long to like get the book out, to go, no, like you just were not allowed to give me fucking medication I did not want, you assholes. No, it's like a fucking rape. No, you know what I mean? So we're learning to like articulate that. But of course, the highest vibration of that is to do it with love and kindness and, you know, with discernment. But if we've been that forced in, it's gonna be a bit of a, you know, it's a spring that's like open. You think of a dam bursting, right? So, you know, no judgment here to anybody, but I'm just sharing with you this also, not just the voice, but it can be also around self-expression. You might become really artistic, you might start singing, you might start doing cartwheels, because all of that suppression that you had growing up or past life stuff, and this is like the weight of, you know, think of the people at the top, they've been suppressing all of us so they can pilfer our money, energy and all whatever, okay? And we're opening and going, no. And I can feel as I'm talking, 9 chakras are coming online and softening and opening so that I can just talk I'm allowed to talk what I want. And I wasn't back then, you know, because it was all come tumbling out and people were in my space and I didn't like it, blah, blah, blah. So that's a thing. Okay, moving up to third eye, and this is one of the big ones, yeah? You're going to start having visions. And that could be nasties. It could be that you're having a bit of a psychic attack. You might have some hangers-oners, otherwise known as entities. You might have some dark energies. You might see ghosts if you're tuned into that energy, or if it's in your highest good. Okay, this is not punishment. It's not judgment to them or you. Sometimes it's just you're tuning in and you're the person, and that's going to be part of your soul life mission or something you need to learn about. Okay, and again, shivers about this, so somebody might need to hear this. But you might start seeing angels. I remember in hospital there was a church and it was shut down. I was like, I need to play piano. I'm a musician. There's nothing in here for me. I need to go and play. That makes me feel sad. Like that is for me. That's going to feed my soul. So I was sat playing something or other, and I thought it's probably the piano, the Heart Asks Pleasure First, the theme from the piano, because I absolutely love that music. And I could see a soul of seas. It was like I knew I had to heal souls. There were souls so stuck in that horrible hospital, and I've had it confirmed by a medium actually recently. She said, yeah, one of my reasons of going there was to shift the energy of the hospital, and I could see them, and I wasn't scared. It just felt completely normal. Of course I'm going to feel that and see that. It's not something that I do all the time. It's not like I don't, but when I tune in and work with clients, I'll get visions. I'm clair audio, I'm clair visual, I'm clairvoyant, if you like, you know, I'm clair cognizant. I have a lot of knowings. So the third eye, when you open that, it's not only about the visuals, but it's about the understanding, perceptions, claircognizance, and I have that very activated. You know, I'm sure the music, other lives, whatever, that was for me very big. And obviously I took acid, and took acid twice, and mushrooms maybe twice as well, and they both have very profound effects on me, and to the point where I'm not doing any more of that. I've had enough of that, because I already had, you know, I see streams of information in my mind's eye, and that's why I write, you know, because that's what I'm learning how to turn the visions into something useful for other people. And the same with talking, yeah, I'm using these 2 chakras to share to you from my heart something that might be useful. So, but when it first starts, it can be scary, and certainly for some people it's the nasties that they're seeing, not the nice. Again, I felt very lucky when I was in hospital, and around the time of when I was awakening, I was so sure in my faith, and I kept just praying on with God, and with God, with God. So I would see dark like things moving, but I was in this space of like, you don't get me, not a fucking chance. I'm with God. You can just go. And it worked, you know. I just could feel this energy, just like you couldn't get in. And again, if you talk to somebody in the hospital, in the mental health, you know, psychiatric, well, it's just hallucinations. Is it though? Do dogs hallucinate, hearing the spectrum of noise that we can't hear? I don't think so. Yeah, get a grip, guys. It's just an altered perception. It's a higher perception. It's a different sensory awareness. Okay. So that can come online. For some people, they're born into families of psychics, and they already knew souls, guides are there. It's absolutely normal. For some of us, it awakens, and it can be really challenging if you're not, if you don't know why. And that's why I'm doing these videos, obviously, just to put it into context. Okay, in crown chakra, obviously we've got other chakras, but that's enough for today. Crown chakra, you might literally have that God moment, which I've had quite a few times in my life, when you are literally feel like you're being bathed in God, source, love, energy, and you're just like in the white energy of just like, wow, you're in the oneness. Okay. You might also astral travel. Okay, and to do this consciously, you can call it guided meditation or shamanic journeying, but to me it's very much a similar thing. And if you're astrally traveling, though, you might be going to past lives, forward lives. You might be going to other realms. You might literally leave your body out, and you don't ever lose the body, because you're always connected until the body dies and you've that journey's done. But opening the crown chakra can be really profound. You can have a memory feeling of all your past lives when you've ever been in a religious organization or have a spiritual understanding. You get that download of information, which I had enormously, deluge of energy, and that activates all through your systems, and you might have all those shifts that I've already talked about. It's not a finite thing. It's not this list or not. It's not a list of symptoms. And this is why labels, it's just ridiculous, because we're all in such a different state of being. It's unique to us. But that is a little bit about what might be happening in your spiritual awakening, and why it can seem so challenging for oneself, but certainly the people around who aren't going through it. If you're pre-warned, you're pre-armed, you're pre-educated, it can feel okay, you know what to expect. But if you don't, it can be a shock, and you're going to be wanting to shift a lot of things in your life. And the integration is doing it, but doing it with ease, with grace, with trust, doing one thing at a time, taking your time, grounding that energy, that excess energy. And showers, salt baths are really good, energy cleanses, calling on the angels. There's a lot of different things you can do, and then you can just do one thing at a time, which is what I'm learning from my business. Choose one step and enjoy that step. Choose one step and enjoy that step, rather than which I still have a tendency, because I know I get a lot done, but it doesn't feel great. Yeah, so it's just slowing it down, integrating, releasing the excess energy, and then you can enjoy this new life. And that is what I'm probably going to talk about next in a video. I'm just getting a little download. What happens after your spiritual awakening? And for me, this is me. This is my after. Published author, doing client sessions, healings, running workshops, running wellbeing fairs, sharing my understandings for the good of people, being in your alignment, offering what it is you do best to the world. And that's different for everyone, absolutely different for everyone. There's no judgment or comparing necessary. It's just absolutely pointless. Yeah, just do what you do best. So I'm actually going to do one of the things that I like best, okay, which is prayer. So some years ago, feels relevant, okay, some years ago I had a soul alignment reading by a beautiful lady whose name I can't remember, escapes me for a minute, I'm sorry, lovey, but there's a link on my website. If you go to the resources page, there's links and come into peace, okay, and in the links I share loads of people that I've worked with, friends, go find her, because when I had that soul alignment reading, it clicked in. She said 3 of your best skills, 1 being in altered states Am I surprised when I read that? Because that's why I got stoned for so many years. So when I had my awakening, I was like, I love being like this. I was in an old state. I was seeing things. I was talking to spirit. I like that. So I just look at my phone. So that's one of my skills, but it's what I do when I'm holding space, when I'm doing healing. I'm going into a place where I can receive and connect to the guides, and I can be I can be intuitive and be a helpful person for you on in your journey. But one of them which has surprised me was prayer. And if you've been on a one-to-one with me, you'll know I make a prayer. If I do my wellbeing fairs, I do a prayer. So I do opening space, and it feels powerful. It's not just me. Like, it's a thing we can all do. When you make prayer, you're really saying intentional words. And I made a little prayer before today. Thank you, guys and angels, for helping me. Yeah, help me be the best. Offer the best wisdom. That's what we do. Okay, so I'm going to make a prayer now. I can't think what the other one was now. Oh, spotting patterns. So, of course, this is the coach, yeah? You come to me with a thing, and I will just be seeing, I can just see all the patterns that are going on, okay? And I can help people see, like, maybe, because when you see a pattern, you can start dissolving it if it's no good, if it's not serving you anymore. They serve you until they don't serve you, and that's okay. But I see patterns, so that's one of my things. And when I was awakening, that's what I was getting. The information that was coming to me was joining the dots of different parts of human life, seeing why things have happened, how things can be improved. That's how my mind works, and that was my super gift, right? So anyway, I'm going to do a prayer now to finish, and then I'll see you another day. So I'm giving great thanks, Mother, Father, God, source of all, creator of all that is. Thank you so much for the light and love that we are, that we have, that we know, that we receive every day in every way. Thank you for the blessings in our life in all areas. I give great thanks for the honour of being able to be of service in this way. I hope and pray that this video is received by the people that need to receive it in all the ways they need it. I hope that they have the courage to ask me questions and reach out, and if they want to work with me, get in touch. I ask that I'm of service for the rest of the day in the way that's for my highest and best good, and I ask that all people that have watched this video receive all that they need. I ask that all beings that need support and love at this time, may there be divine intervention on behalf of their highest good, if it's in alignment with their highest and best good. It's really important when you're praying. And may all beings know love. Asking for the world to be blanketed with love right now. There's a lot going on in the world. Bring healing, love and compassion to all in alignment with their highest and best good. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. I'm going to ask us to have a breath in, cooling our soul in and present. And then releasing, relaxing breath out. Letting us go into our onward journey in the ways for highest and best good. Any activations that have happened here today, for anybody that's received this wisdom, may you support them, guides and angels, high selves, so they can move on in their life in the ways for their highest and best good. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. So there you are, my friends. So much love to you. I hope to see you on another call, or even come to an event. I'm on a wellbeing fair on Sunday in Knighton, on the borders of Wales and England, and then my own wellbeing fair is a week on Saturday, the 20th of September. So come and join us there. It's in the Jubilee Hall, Llanelwyd, which is just over the river from Builth, Wales. And that evening, I am holding ecstatic dance, the temple dance, in the same hall, so you can spend the whole day. Go away and have some dinner and then come back and join us. We have a beautiful chill out space, so you can come and enjoy yourself, pick some cards, just be and receive and be in that beautiful space. So sending so much love to you. If you're interested in what I do, go check out my website, openlotusliving.com. If you want to find out about the book, you can look on the book. There's a page, openlotusliving.com/who-called-you-crazy, or you can just head over to Amazon and buy it. If you again look up the book there. And I am selling them from my website. I haven't got them in stock right now, but they're on their way. So if you want a signed copy, you're very welcome to buy one from the website. So sending you so much love, wishing you all love. We are in the eye of the storm right now. We're in the middle of the eclipse, so look after yourself, drink lots of water, rest when you need to, integrate, take time out in nature if that's what you need to do. Big shifts are coming, and they're not just coming, they have happened. We are in the shifts of the shifts, and it's fine. Everything's going to be okay. Stay connected to your breath, make your prayers, and walk your own path. Okay. day. So much love to you, and I'll see you next time. Take care for now. I'm Caroline Mary on Ascension TV online, and I will see you soon.